Okay. Hello, guys. Hopefully, everybody has power, obviously, and is safe and warm now that the winter storm is over. One request, everybody, it would be nice if everybody could just mute themselves. That way, any background noise wouldn't be interrupting when, the people will be talking. And yeah, so Ram will just talk about Thai Dallas just for a little bit, and then we'll go ahead with Richard and Dipanjan talking about Boxcribe, and then Yogi Patel talking about iuzeit. So yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Sanjukta. Welcome everybody to this year's the second Thai Tuesday for this year. Very excited to have with us two very promising companies, Boxcribe and iuzeit. As Sanjukta mentioned, hopefully everybody is doing okay coming out of this crazy week last week of the weather and the no power situation, so on and so forth. We all have some very interesting stories to share, and some things will come out of it for sure. And I'm working with a few people, the energy experts of the state that will hopefully come and tell us a little bit more about what the heck happened and what can we do going forward, what opportunities it presents itself. But let's leave that aside for now. And for those of you that are not aware of what TiE does and what do we do here in Dallas specifically, I'll just spend a few minutes telling you a little bit more about it. My name is Ram Viswanathan. I'm the president of TiE Dallas. Next slide, Sanju. It is essentially an organization entirely focused on entrepreneurship, promoting entrepreneurship in every facet of the whole life cycle of business building. And so we work with a lot of emerging startups and serial entrepreneurs and businessmen in this region through the entire life cycle, from the initial incubation to mentoring, coaching, funding, helping grow companies. There's a number of different initiatives that we have underneath. It's actually a chapter of a global organization started in Silicon Valley, for those of you who may not be aware. I'll talk in a second about the various specific initiatives we have got going here. So let's switch to the next slide, Sanjukta. Just to give you a very, very quick summary of what all we got done last year and the various initiatives we have got going. This is covering both of those, but I'll just cover it in a summary fashion by highlighting the various programs through which we accomplish our objectives. The nature of the organization being it is constituted of two broad set of folks. One, businessmen and entrepreneurs that have been there, done that, and want to continue to build their businesses and then also give back. That's one group. The other group is emerging startups that have great ideas, great products that need a platform, that need broad mind share in the community and beyond. So we have every fourth Tuesday of the month, which today happens to be one, where we have the TiE Tuesday pitch events, where we have companies coming and pitching, and we have our audiences take a look at it and see how it appeals to their specific interest and how they can participate in some shape or form in these pitches. So what we do with these pitches is we curate them, and then based on the level of interest that our charter members express, we will have some of us take interest in these some of these ventures and either work with them as advisors and investors in these ventures and take it to the next level. So in the last year, to give you an example, we have about 20-30 pitches happen, and out of which about 4 or 5 came up and we actually took it to the next level. That became part of our TiE Ventures program. In addition to this, we have other programs that are catered to specific demographics. We had the TiE Women program launched, and we had a pitch competition, the winner from which represented Dallas at a global event in Dubai, and we're very pleased with the reception that program got, and we're going to have it again start this year in a short few weeks. The TiE program has been a very remarkable program for us, running into the 9th year this year. It is a program catered to the high school kids that are put through a boot camp of a 3 to 4 month period, where they go through the whole concept of ideation, prototyping, building, selling, sales and marketing, and then putting their whole plan in front of a panel of judges and getting feedback, recognition, and then again they also get to present their ideas to a global event. And every year our teams go and grab awards at the global level. Very impressed with our kids, with what they have been able to do. Some of them have gone and built companies, and we'll continue the tradition in this year also. And some of the folks on the call here are very closely involved, Mayur Mehta being one of them. This year, we also have the great pleasure in launching another initiative called TiE University, which incidentally is not shown here on the slide, but I want to make sure that we acknowledge that program that we have launched. It is essentially engaging with local universities, the UT Dallas, SMU, UNT, UT Arlington, and several other universities, and working with them, there's the students, and organizing a hackathon for them, and having pitch competition for them also. And again, in a similar fashion to TiE Women and TiE, the winner from there goes to a global stage where they have opportunity to win awards to the tune of $15,000 to $50,000. So we're very pleased with that. And Satyajit, the doctor who's leading that initiative, is I think on the call also. And you'll be hearing more from us in the weeks to come. So I just wanted to highlight a few of those kind of initiatives and the opportunity that exists for the community, for those of you that are on the call, to get engaged, benefit from, contribute to these various initiatives. And there are other ways to engage also. It's a fun thing to do, fun thing for us to be doing, and just promote the whole virtue of entrepreneurship and business building. So let me skip through the next few slides. We already highlighted all these things. I want to make sure that you're all aware of how to get engaged by becoming a member. There is two forms of membership. There is a regular membership, and there's a charter membership. The charter membership is for those that are more senior, and they have a bunch of businesses, and they're able to invest, they're able to mentor, coach, and give back. And then the other regular membership is available for everybody. But one way or the other, if you can get involved, get engaged, and get to know people in the organization, I can guarantee you that there will be benefits to be had for your current businesses. And then through this networks that you work with, get to a broader access to a large number of people, and access to resources. By the way, this is not just, as I mentioned earlier, it's not just Dallas you're connecting with. You're connecting with chapters around the country, around the globe. So we found that to work really well this year, last year, because of the way the year went. The global collaboration has been a great boon to our members. So that is something to be kept in mind. And here are some people that are involved in the organization from a core team standpoint, from a charter member standpoint, and the various people that have come spoken to us and given special sessions on specific topics. So I'll just leave it at that, and again, once again, introduce you to today's pitches, one by Boxcribe, Richard and Dipanjan. It's an interesting venture that they have come up with. They're both, and the rest of the organization there are pedigreed in the travel industry, a number of years in the travel industry, and they've come up with a very innovative mechanism platform to monetize travel vouchers. That is how much I want to go into. They'll be able to tell you a lot more about it and do better justice than I will. And likewise, another great venture, a product that is that's going to be talked about is iuzeit by Yogi Patel. He's embarked on an interesting venture to create better, newer experiences in e-commerce. E-commerce obviously is growing by leaps and bounds, and it is also causing confusion to consumers, and there is always a need to better to come up with better decisions and be more informed. So he's going to talk to us about all that. So with that said, please join me in welcoming Boxcribe and iuzeit, Richard and Dipanjan, as well as Yogi Patel. So the way this will work is we are going to have Boxcribe present for the first 20 minutes and then have a short 10 minutes of Q&A, and then do the same thing with Yogi Patel on iuzeit. 20 minutes and then 10 minutes, and then depending on what else is out there, what are the remaining questions are there to deal with, we can either continue for a little bit or we'll have follow-up sessions later on. All right, so I'll just leave it at that, and over to you. I think the first group is going to be Boxcribe. Is that right, Sanjukta?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sanjita. Can you see the screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ram, thank you for the introduction, and congratulations on nice achievements in 2020. Given all the circumstances, it's pretty amazing on how much progress you were able to make during the year. So congratulations.
Thank you, Richard.
You bet, you bet. Thank you everybody first for joining today. I'm real excited to have this opportunity to kind of present, what we're looking at doing out in the marketplace. As Ram was mentioning, we're going to be looking at transforming the way airline vouchers are used today. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, I think, something everybody can relate to. Many of y'all have had these travel experiences where, you've booked your flights or you're in progress of flying and your trip gets canceled or your trip gets delayed. It's not a very pleasant experience, but these things happen. That's just the nature of transportation and flights, and these things happen. And when those things occur, the flight cancellations occur, the delays occur, the airlines really only have one option, and that's pretty much to offer you a voucher. And getting those vouchers are really just not a very pleasant experience, as you can probably imagine. So Vamos is, coming to the market today to really look at transforming this this negative experience into a more positive experience, right? We want to be able to really change the conversation that's happening out there today. And we want to be able to give the airline kind of a better asset to be able to use the vouchers in different ways than what they currently use today. So just imagine, right? You purchased an airline ticket and your flight was canceled, and the airline comes to you and says, here's your $100 voucher. And we're going to also give you maybe an incremental $10 or $20 on top of that for any kind of inconvenience. And so you as the consumer don't have much choice, and you go back to the airline saying, well, I don't want the voucher. First of all, what am I going to do with this voucher? It doesn't bring me any kind of incremental value, and I have to maintain and keep up with this thing. And so just trying to manage this voucher, keep up with this voucher is just not really a pleasant experience. And the customers are pretty much demanding, look, we have to have a little bit more than just the voucher itself. If you're not going to give me my cash back, then we have to have a little bit more. So at the end of the day, the customers are pretty much saying, look, we don't want these vouchers. Why are they saying these things? Well, as I mentioned before, you've probably experienced some of this stuff, right? When you get the voucher, what is sometimes known, and is definitely known at the time of redemption, is you can't really use the vouchers for anything except for some really tight limitations around the voucher, right? So the first thing you do, and I've experienced this firsthand, and I'm sure y'all have experienced this, you call the airline and you say, I want to be able to redeem my voucher. And the airline conveniently says, no problem. Can you please tell me what your 13-digit voucher number is? And of course, you're sitting here scratching your head going, how in the world am I going to find this thing and remember this? Because I got this voucher issued to me 3 months, 4 months, 6 months ago, right? I recently just did this with one of the local carriers, and it literally took me 30 minutes to find the voucher value, the voucher number itself. And I had that representative stay on the phone until I could find the thing. Well, needless to say, once I did find it, then they pretty much said, "Oh, we're sorry. There are certain restrictions around this voucher. You can only use it for this particular origin and destination. Um, you can't use it for paying for seats or for bags or anything. It's very tightly controlled on what you can do." And then one of the worst experiences behind this voucher is, just imagine if the voucher expires. You lose your money, right? I don't know if you've ever tried calling the airline back after the voucher expired and said, "Hey, I forgot that my voucher's expired. Can I get it back?" And the airlines say, "Sorry, we're not going to be able to do anything for you." So again, just an overall really negative experience on using the vouchers. And we just have to be able to provide different alternatives out there in the market. But let's talk now a little bit about the airlines. Why are they in this situation, right? The airlines are kind of in a bind at the moment. And there's two reasons why they're in this bind. The first reason is, you know, today, right now, with all of these cancellations that are happening, there are millions of dollars being requested by the airlines to give the cash back to the customers. And the airlines simply can't do that. And why can't they do that? Because you may or may not know, the airlines are very cash intense when it comes to their operations. They have to have a lot of cash on hand to be able to manage the airline and keep the airplane in the air. So that's one big reason why they can't give this money back, because they'll go insolvent if they were to write checks back or give cash back to the customers. The second thing is that the airlines don't have many options. They're other than giving the cash back, the only other really thing they have in their back pocket is the voucher. And those vouchers, as I said, are extremely limited on the use of it. So, so the airlines right now are in a situation right now where they can't ignore this problem. Prior to COVID, yes, we had cancellations, and yes, we had vouchers, and the airlines could deal with, the few individuals that would call and complain. But now with this pandemic that came, now they're just getting flooded, right? They're getting flooded in the call centers. They're getting, a lot of this legislation pressure to do something about this. And this pandemic has just exacerbated the problem and has really brought up the need to be able to look at different viable options that are out there in the market. So when we look at the market itself, and we start seeing, how big is this problem? So as I mentioned today, prior to COVID, the airlines were having to refund 8.5 billion in refunds. Okay, that's still quite a bit of money, right? Relative to the million flights that are canceled. So prior to COVID, this is a huge amount of money that was still obligated to be paid. With COVID hitting, this has driven this problem up 4 times, where airlines are now obligated to pay 35 billion in refunds. I mean, this is just a tremendous amount that has to be dealt with. And the airlines are really scrambling to try to figure out how they're going to do this, because like I said, they just simply can't give the cash back. So we're looking at introducing Vamos, right? We believe that our Vamos application is going to be able to provide the airlines the right solution and a more viable option to be able to change this negative experience into a more positive experience, and give the customers more value add behind these vouchers. Okay, we started this company back in July of last year, and prior to starting, Dipanjan and I were doing consulting, and we were working with a company where we interviewed over 30 airlines, and we were asking them questions about, what are you going to do about, this pandemic, and how are you going to go forward, and what do you see the industry like? Well, in the course of those conversations, one of the top issues that continued to resonate with all of the airlines we talked to was the fact that they have to figure out how to deal with these refunds. They don't have any viable options, and and there's challenges associated with the current technology, and they just simply have to figure out, how are they going to move forward. So we believe our Vamos voucher management system is going to be a viable option going forward. We're going to use customer data. We're going to use the voucher data. We're going to work with the airline closely to understand who that customer is. And based on that, we're going to use our AI engine to be able to create the right offer for the right customer. So let's talk through this a little bit. Right now, we're working with LATAM as one of our pilots. And you can see here on the left, this is what LATAM is currently doing. You have Karina. She gets this email, like I mentioned before, with this, this big voucher number that she has to remember. She gets all the details associated with it. And this is, pretty much all Karina gets. What we're talking about, as we were mentioning earlier, about how do we begin to introduce more value behind just the voucher itself, more value such that the customer will say, you know what, I have some tremendous value here. I think I would rather take this offer versus calling the airline to get the cash back. So in this middle email here, you can see that we've sent Karina a different type of offer. Yes, we're going to give them the voucher. Yes, we're going to give them 10 or 20% on top of that. But we're also going to give them, in this particular case, access to a special member portal. This member portal is where we're partnering with Priceline to be able to offer deep discounts to customers that have these vouchers. Now, why can we do that? The reason why we can do that is because we have a closed loop environment to where these deep discounts are only available to those individuals via a protected site, which we're going to allow the customers to come in only for those that have the vouchers. So this is one type of offer that goes out. You can see here on the right, we have multiple other types of offerings that we can bring out. In addition to Priceline, we have other retail-based offers that we can select from. We'll be working with the airlines to look at any kind of upgrades or any kind of ancillaries that they may be able to offer. And the other big thing we're doing is with credit cards. So let me talk a little bit about the credit card offer. So just imagine, you had the ability to take your voucher and get an offer for a new credit card with miles associated with that. All of y'all have been on the airplane today. They walk around saying, hey, join today, and you get 50,000 miles for joining by signing up for this new credit card. In this particular case, let's take an example. A customer has a $500 voucher. The airline converts that voucher into miles, and not just any miles. It's not just a one-to-one conversion like it's traditionally out there today. This is a better offer such that the 500 miles gets converted into 100,000 points. Now you're talking a value such that you have 2 round-trip tickets to from the U.S. to Europe. Okay, and in return for that, right, the credit card company gets the opportunity to get a new customer into the door. This is a completely new thing that nobody else is doing out there. This is different than the co-brand credit cards that the companies are doing. This is a completely new market that the credit card companies now have another avenue to acquire customers. So these are the offers that we're looking at working with the airlines for, using our AI engine to be able to personalize these things and send these things out. So a little bit about how it works. So part of our system is that we have the ability to monitor when a flight disruption happens. How do we do that? Well, we're tapped into the airline system as it relates to any of the schedule changes or departure control systems. We can capture those signals when they happen. Our AI engine kicks in and starts understanding who the customer is and what the value proposition needs to be. And then we send out these proactive notifications, right? These are proactive and not reactive, right? This is things that are automatically sent, personalized to you, such that you feel like This is something of value, and this has been specially built for me. When all this happens, at the end of the day, the airlines are able to retain that cash, and we'll be able to bring them some incremental revenue from the programs that I just talked about here. So as we talk with the airlines, we know right now that things are very difficult. So for our system, we're not going to require any heavy API integration. We're not going to require any kind of heavy lifting from the airline. We're going to do all of the system components on behalf of the airline. Okay, and so so minimal lift on the airline side. Now, as we look at this thing, we believe this is really a game changer and a value proposition for both the airlines and the travelers. For the airlines, they're going to be able to keep the cash. The cash retention, as we mentioned, is key. We're going to be bringing new business innovation to them. Business innovation that will lead to incremental revenue and additional kind of perks that we believe will help drive more loyalty to the airline. For the travelers, they're going to now start feeling a sense of value of what they're getting, not just the voucher itself, but the incremental value of the things that we talked about. They're going to be able to have broader redemption capabilities and so forth. So we really believe we're bringing this win-win to both the airline and to the customer. So now let's talk a little bit about how is this going to work. So as I mentioned before, we're not going to charge airlines a fee like many of the technology companies do today. If you use my system, I have a counter that is a transactional based system that counts how many times you use the system. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is change the model out there. We're going to go to the airlines and we're going to say, look, you already have the cash collected from the customers. Let us help you by convincing them not to take the cash back, and we take a small commission off of that cash that you currently have and you're currently retaining. Okay. The other part of our model is everything we do as it relates to the other products, the affiliate partner network, like with the hotel programs and with the credit card components, we're going to offer a revenue share back to the airline. So again, we're able to help them keep the cash, and we're going to offer them new lines of revenue to bring into the bottom line. As we look at our competition, I mentioned before, there's some current incumbents out there. Sabre, Amadeus, Travelport. These are, for those of y'all who may or may not know, these are the big heavy players in the market today as it relates to the reservation systems that the airline use. A lot of the voucher management systems are built on these technologies, but these technologies are very limited. The tools they're using to manage the vouchers are not necessarily meant for vouchers. The technology players are a little bit slower to the market, and they really don't have any kind of marketing capabilities. There's other companies like Rebound Travel. They're doing similar things, but they're very narrow in their focus, and they are only focused on the airline products like seat upgrades and loyalty points. At Vamos, we're providing more of this full range of products and services with our voucher management system, our marketing capabilities to be able to go out there and target the customers directly and help these airlines, bring some incremental revenue. So today we got airlines lining up. I mean, we're working with LATAM on a pilot program now. We're doing some work with Air Mexico in another venue, but they've already expressed interest that they want to get access to this voucher management system. We've been talking with Virgin Atlantic, and as of this week, we were talking with Air France and KLM, and they're all very interested. So we have a great opportunity here to generate some pretty significant revenue. We just need to be able to raise some capital to be able to, capture this opportunity and others going forward. So what are we looking for? We're looking for $650,000. This is our first round of funding that will be funded with convertible notes. You can see here we're going to use the money primarily to roll out to some of the existing customers that we're going after in the pilot program. We have some product enhancements we need to get in place, and we have to also get some key staff members on board. Us as founders, we put in about $25,000 of our own money, And we've been working this with essentially no salaries for the past year. So we've been putting a lot of some investment and some sweat equity into this thing. When you look at our financials, you can see here we have a 5-year projection, and we're targeting 50 airlines over this 5-year period. Now, 50 airlines today is approximately 15% of the global airlines that are out in the marketplace today. Of those 50 airlines that we're targeting, as I mentioned before, on the revenue generation aspect of this, we believe that 50% of our revenue is going to come from this cash retention, and the other 50% will come from the affiliate partner revenue share and from the credit card deal aspects of this. So we have, I think we have a fairly, I don't want to say aggressive approach. We're going to be targeting carriers that we believe are in our sweet spot. We're not going to go to the very top carriers like American and Delta because they have very sophisticated tools in place. We're not going to be going to the lower carriers that are regularly struggling to be able to just keep the airline operational. We're going to be kind of targeting that middle spot of airlines out there in the marketplace. When you see our team, we have over 100 years of experience with our team members. Many of us have worked in the global distribution space with Sabre and with Travelport. We've worked at OTAs, we've worked at airlines themselves, and we have a fairly strong team who has a tremendous amount of experience in the space. From our advisor perspective, you may recognize some of these players. These are some well-known industry leaders in the market today. Some of the advisors sit on the boards of some of these airlines that are helping us break the barriers through these airlines and get in. They provide advisory services to the airline CEOs and other executives. We have some previous airline executives who operated at the CIO level of some of the at one of the major airlines, and then we have some other industry experts that have a vast amount of experience in both the travel and transportation. And we also have one individual who comes from the credit card space. As I mentioned before, this is a big opportunity that we see, and he's helping us right now kind of break the doors into the credit card companies and getting direct contacts with them on helping to strike these kind of relationships up. So with that, thank you for taking the time. We believe that Vamos really provides a viable option for the airlines. We really believe that we're going to be able to change the conversation and allow the airlines to use vouchers more as an asset versus a liability, and really help them change the conversation with the customer, bring them more value, retain the cash, and really change those conversations. So thank you again for the time, and I'll pause there for any questions.
Thank you very much, Rich. And I have one quick question, and then I'll open it up for others to chime in. As you were going through this, I realized, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, much of the success here depends on the network effect that you have to enable. And the question is, how much of that network, the retailers and credit card companies and so on and so forth, that these airlines have to have, is already in the legacy ecosystem, and how much of it is needs to be put in place for the model to work? Am I asking the question right? Do you understand what I'm saying, Rich?
I think I understand what you're saying. So, working with some of our, some of the offers. Let's take the first one, the airline products. The airline products are pretty straightforward. Obviously, we're working with the airlines, so we have direct access to that. Working with the retailers, we have many on our team that have direct relationships with them. So we already have, some of the hotel programs and some of the others in place relative to our network. The credit card component, Again, we have direct relationships there. That one is, I would say is, if you look at it as, a little bit, at a broader level, that one, just takes a little bit more time to discuss and to talk about, just because the airlines start thinking about their co-brand cards and how the relationships work. And so we got to spend a little bit of time with them on that. But the good news is we have a lot of direct relationships with all of these entities through our board, through our advisory board, and through the members of our team, to be able to bypass the front lines and go directly to the CS, the executive levels, to get these relationships going.
Okay. One other comment, and then I'll hand it over to others to ask questions. You definitely need to connect with Victor and Alvin Abraham, and you reach out to them. Otherwise, I'll make the connection for you, and then I think you'll get a lot of good insight from them. But great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sanjukta, you may want to open the mics and ask if anybody else has questions.
I think, Ram, I think one question came via chat from Mayur.
Yeah.
Rich, his questions are, who are the stakeholders or departments in the airline in order to make this happen? And also, who are some of the partner companies that we are working with?
Okay, with the airline, the primary key stakeholders that we're working with are at the executive level. We're working with the chief finance officer and the chief marketing officer. Those are the two key individuals. Again, as part of our network, one of the individuals on our team has direct relationships with over 50 airlines, and we're able to reach out directly to these individuals. And when I'm talking about working with these other airlines, that's how we've been able to get through. But the primary decision makers around this have been the CFOs and the chief marketing officers. What was the other question, Dipanjan?
The other question was who are the partner companies we are working with, besides, I guess, Priceline, we mentioned one.
Yeah, so
my question was like, there is too many stakeholders involved in this, right? Both on the airline as well as on the partner company side, right? So, like, do you all have the underlying sales channels to make this happen?
So to answer your question, yes, we do have the underlying sales channel. How do we have that? Through the current team that we have, primarily. But we, like I said before, the individuals on our team right now have we have direct relationships with the executive teams on the credit card side, and on the airline side, and on the partner network side, as it relates to like the hotels and such. We have those relationships directly right now.
Okay. And one last question: what's an average sales cycle from time you start the conversation to make this?
Yeah,
that's completely integrated.
Yeah, that's a good question. As you may or may not know, the airline sales cycles are typically 12 to 18 months. However, because we're building the system that is not dependent or integrated into the core reservation system, our ability to be able to implement this and to execute this is much faster. As you can see in the presentation, it only takes us a month to be able to get up. For the sales cycle itself, we've only been talking at the moment with LATAM. That took us about a month just to go through and talk to them about what we're doing. And after that month, we were able to start rolling out the pilot. The others, I would say right now during this time, it's been 2 to 4 months kind of talking with them. The primary thing around those conversations was just, I'll be very honest with you, with this COVID stuff hitting and people working from the house, it just made it a little bit more tactically, a little bit more difficult to get together. But I see the sales cycle. I believe the sales cycle will probably be more in the 3 to 4 month window versus the typical 12 to 18 month. That 12 to 18 month is anytime you kind of get in and you touch the core systems at the airlines, as you may or may not know, there's a tremendous amount of movement that has to occur in those core systems. And because we're offering something that's outside of that core system, we're going to be able to move much faster.
Rich, there's a second question that came in, is what percentage of refunds expire that is never claimed within the expiration window? And then, yeah, I'm
handle that one?
answer that. I'm going to answer that. So on an average, it's about, industry average is about 20%. I mean, that's very similar to the numbers that you see also in the loyalty space, about percentage of your loyalty points expiring. Now, the difference between vouchers expiring and loyalty points expiring is you actually paid money for that ticket and you forgot about it, or you couldn't remember, and your vouchers expired before you realized it. So that is a lot more issue with the customers where they feel cheated or robbed. But from an airline standpoint, that's the breakage they enjoy in terms of refunds. And the other two questions is, what are the top three risks, Rich, in this business?
The top three risks in the business.
Yeah. One of the risks that
question.
one of the risks that we see right now is, even though we are a cloud-based platform and we don't need a lot of integration from the airline, but the airlines are hurting in many ways, right? They don't have the right amount of staff. They don't have staff to even, their main job is to keep the planes clean, keep it running, and have the revenue coming in. So any other opportunity, it might take them a little bit of time to get to. That could be a risk, though we haven't, like Rich said, so far we have been able to have good communications, kind of get through. But as we go on, we'll need to see how that kind of works out, right? So that could be one risk that I can think of.
Yeah, the other risk, Dipanjan, I know there's another one, like you said, the airlines have been reducing some of their staff. And so while that is impacting the staff members are just at the moment not available to be able to always be on phone calls all the time. And so there is a little bit of a risk that it may delay it a little bit. But as we begin to show what these value propositions are and show that we're able to bring in more revenue, with LATAM, like specifically, there was a small hurdle when some of the members left, but then as we continue to show this more and more, the refocus has been put back on it. So that's definitely a risk. I mean, those are kind of the things we have to deal with at the moment.
Yeah, and then there was a last question that what we plan to do with the 650. I think you answered that through that investment slide.
Yeah.
We're going to hire more salespeople to go across, finish the product, and what have you.
Okay.
Hey, Rich, this is Siva.
Hey, Siva.
Hey, congratulations on your new venture.
Thank you.
And good to see Stan on the board. I'm sure it'll bring in a lot of knowledge.
Oh yeah, Stan. Yeah.
Yeah. My question is, so once we get the voucher as a airline customer, do I need to log into a different system, Boxcribe system, or is it all inside the airline website?
We're not going to integrate into the airline website. Why? Because I think Siva, just to get a link in that website takes months, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to work with the airline, and the airline is going to send these marketing. We're going to work with them to send these marketing campaigns out. And when they get the link, they're going to land on a white label branded website that we power, that is going to give the experience as if it was the airline. So LATAM, it'll be latam.boxcribe.com. They'll come in, they'll log in. How do we know if they're the right customer? Because we'll have their voucher information to be able to validate that it's them. So they'll come in into a airline branded website that we will be maintaining. I don't really want to integrate into the airlines because
Yeah.
it takes forever. You know this. It
Yeah,
takes forever.
Yeah. So it's a single sign-on to your site, or do they have to create a new user ID?
It'll vary, and here's what I mean. In some countries, like in Europe, there are a lot of privacy laws,
Yeah.
and so they're going to require them to fully go through a registration process to actually give their information over because of the privacy laws. In other countries like Latin America, we're going to be talking to them about single sign-on, where the experience is better. I would prefer to do single sign-on and do all that, but unfortunately, depending on where we're going, it's going to require a different kind of solution.
Yeah. Thanks, Rich. Good luck. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Okay, Steven. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Rich and Dipanjan. And for the sake of time, because we have another pitch also that needs to be made, unless there are any other questions, if we have some closing thoughts and insights, Kelsey, Dipanjan, Rich, you guys can go ahead and make those remarks. And like I said, some of us will get back in touch with you and see what the next steps are. Definitely, we need our own travel and airline specialists and charter members that would have a lot more interest and insight into this, and we'll follow up on that. And then Sanjukta, if we can keep that ready, and we'll share the recording with our membership also, and we can bring Yogi. But before you do that, any other closing comments, thoughts, Kelsey, Richard, and Dipanjan?
In the spirit of giving Yogi enough time, I think we're okay. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out directly to me. I'll be happy to respond. But unless there's anything else, I'll yield my time to Yogi.
Yeah, I'd add one thing really quickly to whoever Dr. Toward Solutions said. So what's the money going towards?
Oh yes.
The key here is really focusing on getting this to work with airlines that have already signed up, because the reality is Boxcribe is in a great position where they've got airlines who've already committed to doing this, and we all know the cash position that the airlines are in. And so focusing on just getting this to really work with this money is really the focus. And as Rich said, he's available, but like the key is that the customers are already there. All it is taking the tech team and using this money to really execute against this goal in that respect, and then roll it out to a much broader market after this raise.
Okay.
Because if it works for one airline, airlines tend to be like sheep, and they all tend to follow in that respect.
Okay. By the way, folks, we know this on the line. He has worked extensively with the airlines. We know that if you have some quick comment or two, share with us now, or we can pick it up offline with them. Right. I guess is muted. All right, let's go ahead and Sanjukta, you may want to introduce our next speaker, Yogi, and get that all set up. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very interesting. And now we're gonna have Yogi Patel talk about iuzeit. So Yogi, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Good to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Sanju. It's a pleasure being here. Thanks, everyone, for taking some time out to hear about us. So iuzeit, we're in the B2C space. We're in the e-commerce space. I was just kind of running through the presentation and figured I'd take a slightly different approach to presenting this than I kind of ever have, sort of an on the spur thought. But I think it'll also give some insight on how we think about product strategy. And this is really referencing, the lean startup methodology is referenced a lot in the startup world, in the tech space, by Rick Aries, I believe. And then there's a book written by Dan Olson called The Lean Product Playbook, which really does a great job of laying out how to go about executing on that strategy. And I'll kind of reference that as as going through some of this, in the sense that they kind of have this pyramid where the foundation of the pyramid is the target customer. And so for us, right, we're in this space where the number of people who are shopping online has steadily been increasing, amongst all age groups, amongst all sort of demographics. It's just kind of the world we live in. I think this was referenced earlier in this call as well, where the pandemic only kind of accelerated e-commerce growth, right? So as brick and mortar sort of shut down temporarily or indefinitely, in some cases, right, more people were almost forced to rely on sort of the online space for a lot of their shopping needs that they weren't relying on previously. So that target customer for us is kind of steadily growing. Sort of the niche market within is sort of this focus on people who do a good amount of research, like kind of extensive research, right? As the new generation kind of comes up, right? Everyone is very tech savvy these days, and the number of people who are interested in making a confident decision, right, is also growing. So that's kind of just to kind of establish our target market is sort of this this consumer base, both genders. 25 to 45/50 is kind of our starting point, but it's really people who do a good amount of research before they're making purchases online. Sort of the next part of this foundation is really understanding the pain points, right? And in this kind of the lean startup concept, right, they reference a couple of examples that really make sense. Like when they talk about Uber, for example, it makes it very clear where you take a look at the pain points that people had. It was like, dirty cabs, rude drivers, you don't get a taxi when you need it, right? So it's not there. So the convenient aspect, etc. And you kind of take a look at this first version that Uber built, and it's like, nice, polite drivers, clean cars, the car's there when you need it, etc. So like just in their first version, they were able to address so many pain points, right? So that's part of this product strategy where we've done such extensive work now, or research in the consumer behavior space. And we're kind of in this big data world now, right? Where the amount of information is like exponentially increasing every day. The amount of products, the amount of options, the number of websites people have to go to, the number of reviews, right? Just everything is increasing daily. The number of channels where people receive information, right? So contrary to sometimes investor belief, right? Like everyone's not just on Amazon. They're going to many retailers. They're reading reviews for electronics, for example, on sites like CNET. They're going to YouTube watching videos. Social media is picking up significantly. Like e-commerce conversions on social media platforms have been steadily growing, such as Instagram, TikTok, for example, right? So as new platforms come out, the amount of channels for how consumers receive information is increasing. So, in terms of this strategy, right, you essentially understand what the pain points are, which some of those you can see here, right? Like that process for people, it's time consuming. There's data overload. There's so much information they have to go through. Even finding the best price, for example, is still a manual process for most people. People often start that journey on Google, and they're going from one link to the next, and pretty soon you have 10, 15, 20 browser tabs open, right? And people are kind of comparing like what, how much something is on Walmart versus Amazon versus Target or Best Buy, etc. So even that is very much a manual process right now. This bias in reviews and sponsored content, right? Like almost every platform or experience has a lot of bias in it. Google Shopping, for example, there's a disclaimer at that top that says payment is one of many factors that determines how products or how retailers are placed, right? We've, in any research we've done, and I'll come back to this a little bit later because we just did a whole round of additional research, and specifically in the health and wellness space. The number one, pain point that is often found right now is fake reviews. It is such a major problem, right? Like even Amazon is kind of struggling to keep up with it because it's an industry of its own. If any of you have ever been in the commerce space, like the second you try selling a product on Amazon, like these people around the world, they will find you and start selling you 5-star reviews. And often sellers are like they're forced to rely on purchasing reviews, because on a platform like Amazon, if you don't have a lot of reviews or a high rating, like you will not get shown at the top, right? Like you will not generate a lot of sales. So fake reviews, etc. So for us, it was kind of like, okay, let's understand what these major pain points are. And then in determining the sort of the solution, right? A key important aspect of understanding that consumer behavior is not just understanding the pain points, but understanding what's important to them, right? So you might say, hey, such and such is a pain point of mine. But when you ask how important is it for someone to solve that problem for you, that's a very important answer, because if someone says like, not that big of a deal, then if you do end up solving that problem and it's not a big deal, there's not the chances of traction are going to be very low, right? So kind of that ideal formula is what are the biggest pain points and what's most important to people out of those pain points for you to solve. And that's kind of where you determine that opportunity, right? So that's kind of the strategy that we've followed in recent years to kind of to create the solution that we've created so far. So just kind of in a sentence here, right? Providing democratized, unbiased, organized data in one place for consumers to quickly navigate through the shopping chaos and make the best purchase decision, and kind of expand on this. So, and I'll run through the site for a minute, but just big picture review on kind of the technology, right? And this is sort of the overly simplified version, but step one for us is data aggregation. So we have about 1,000+ scrapers right now that run every night, and pulling data from about 100 sites right now. It's very much a controlled setup in terms of specific business data requirements that are driving what information we pull from the web, right? So we pull from retailer sites like Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy. We pull from review sites like CNET. We pull video content from YouTube. We pull a lot of product data from manufacturer sites. So that's step one, right? We pull all this information in. Step two, which is sort of the core of what we've built, is what we do with that data once it comes in-house, right? So how we clean it, how we organize it, how we process it, how we analyze it, how we make it all match and merge together, which leads to step three, which is focusing on the front-end website, right? It's a consumer-facing product, providing a simple, easy to use, very user-friendly UI UX, where and let me just switch over to, actually, I'll switch over to the demo in just a second. But now it's sort of that one-stop shop experience where instead of someone having to go to 5, 10, 15, 20 different sites when they're doing that research, they can see all that information brought into one place, right? So a typical use case is, let's say someone's in the market for the new iPhone, or they're researching the new iPhone 12. Now on this one page on our site, and might as well just kind of show it while... All right, so I'll kind of do a quick demo and then go back to the deck. But here's our website. This is kind of just the homepage. We've got about 25 categories right now. It was primarily initially focused around electronics. Kind of just use the cell phones example here. So it looks like a kind of an e-commerce site, but that's something that we're shifting going forward, right? So let's just go with let's say the iPhone 12. So let's say someone is researching this product. Now, sort of on this one page, right? And actually, I'll go back for a second. One thing, as a result of how we process data, you will only ever see one product page on our site for any product, right? So an example like cell phone, if you go to Best Buy, Walmart, anywhere, for each phone, you have different carrier option, color options, hard drive options, and they're all listed as different products, right? So this is a completely organized experience where you would only see one line item in terms of like an iPhone 12. So any version of it, any variants of it is all merged into this one product page. Now on this one product page, you see everything from kind of high def images, full sort of description and features, full specs on the product. You see consumer reviews coming together from sort of the top retail platforms out there, expert data coming together from sort of the CNET world, the top videos from YouTube, and most importantly for consumers, right, pricing options from all of the top retailers. Now I'll touch on kind of a feature that we launched not too long ago, which we've called Insights right now. But what this is this kind of like a 60-second read. It's not our review, right? We're not calling it a review because then the question comes, well, how are you different from CNET or Engadget or PC Mag, right? Because that's what they do. There's a whole industry out there of people who review products. We don't review products. We bring all the relevant data together in these thousands of reviews and hundreds of pages of expert articles and videos. And we have a team set up and an efficient process set up where we analyze the data and present a summary of it to the user. So it's our version of saying, not only have we brought all this data together, but we've, quote unquote, read these thousands of reviews and here's a summary of what consumers are saying. Here's a summary of what the experts are saying, and here's sort of the bottom line on this product, right? So it's our unbiased analysis of all the data that's out there. This has gotten a lot of positive feedback with any testing that we've done. So that's kind of just a touch on the experience here. Let me go back to the deck for a second and can address any questions at the end. So some of the kind of key value propositions here, right? So comprehensive data all in one place, right? Kind of that one-stop shop. We used to reference kind of the travel industry sometimes early on in our years, where like companies like Trivago, Kayak, Priceline, right? They all kind of set out to create that one-stop experience, one-stop shop. Trivago saying if you're looking for a hotel, you don't need to go everywhere. You can just go to Trivago and find the best option for you. So similar aspect of that, but in the e-commerce space. Being a completely unbiased platform is a high value proposition for consumers, and then ensuring a high level of quality. So, inaccuracies in data, just low level quality of data is one of the main pain points that people sort of experience today. This sort of line in the middle, 20 hours of research done in 10 minutes. We have a version of that even for our insights. It's like hours of research done in 1 minute when you read our insights on a product. So some of our value propositions, these are just kind of some demo slides that we have. Comparison, something that I'll make note of. This used to be on many retailer sites, a few years ago, and now you don't really find it on any. I think Best Buy is the only one that we see this on. Amazon used to have it. Now Amazon controls the products, right? So when you go to a product page on Amazon, it controls which products it puts at the bottom of it in terms of comparison. But to our surprise, this was a feature that we had just put in, thinking that sure, there might be some value to it. In a recent user testing that we did, one of the first things that people were mentioning was kind of this ability to compare products side by side, because you really just can't do this that well on most sites right now. And especially when people are having to go to multiple sites, right? Like obviously you can't compare a product on Target with a product on Walmart side by side, right? So this product comparison feature alone has gotten a lot of, or we've received a lot of positive feedback on that. Switching tracks a little bit to the business model. So our initial revenue stream is the affiliate commission space, affiliate commission revenue, right? So now we have about 40, the top 40 retailers set up on the affiliate side, including kind of the Amazon. I think we have we used to have right. So it includes kind of most of the top retailers in the US. Now, one thing that I'll make note of here is this 3 to 5%. This is actually increasing quite a bit as we focus more on the health and wellness space. So I'll touch on that here in a minute, but just to touch on kind of one of our biggest focus areas in 2021 is developing this subscription model. Common question from an investment standpoint is why now, right? And we have some notes here on, some of this was already the case. E-commerce was already a growing industry for a number of years. It has gotten accelerated significantly in the last 12 months as a result of the pandemic, right? So just some data here around like the growth rate and how much it's increased in the last 12 months versus the prior years, right? More people, kind of the short layman's version of this is more people online, more people shopping online, more options, more websites coming out every day, more data coming, available for consumers, which makes it harder day by day for people to sift through that data and quickly and easily make the right decision in terms of finding the best product for them at the best price. Some of our traction metrics here, we actually have about 25 categories now, about 15 electronic categories, and then just in the last couple of weeks, we've added a few COVID essential product categories and a few health and wellness supplement categories. A lot of the tests, from a product market fit standpoint, right? Some of the things that we were looking for example, this ability to get all of your research done without leaving iuzeit, right? 71%, like, right? This is kind of what we were going for while we were focusing on product development, is what else is missing? right? So that's where the data sets have increased over the last year or two. The quality of the information has increased. The experience itself has evolved significantly. This bottom point here, 93% feeling very confident using iuzeit to make their purchase decision, right? Like this is a big thing for us. Those insights that I referenced, this is major for us as well. 92% saying that it cuts down or replaces their research process, right? So it makes people feel that, oh, as if they read, the consumer reviews themselves for hours when they just kind of read this summary that we've put together. So just a couple of metrics there. From a marketing standpoint, most of the data that we have right now has been through kind of the paid channels. Most of our traffic to date has been through Google Ads because it's been a controlled environment for us for product development purposes, for conversion optimization purposes. And also it was very targeted, right? If someone's on Google searching for Bose headphones, they're presumably on the path to purchase that product, right? So it's very targeted for us. The bulk of the effort going forward for us will be around the organic side. Influencer marketing is increasing daily. Focusing on retention is a big metric for us right now. Thinking about the market size, right? E-commerce is global. It's been increasing significantly for a number of years now. We have listed out some numbers here for consumer electronics since that was a starting point. You can see a little bit of data on our demographics. We are actually shifting our focus to the health and wellness space. But I'll kind of reference that a little bit, but I got a couple of things to run through and then I'll touch more on that. In terms of the competitive landscape, right? This has always been a unique a story for us because as you can see here, right, there are a number of different buckets that we talk about in the e-commerce space. You have retailers like Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, and many others. You have these review sites like CNET, PCMag, and every industry has their own versions of kind of the experts. You have these deals types of sites like Woot and Deals News and Slick Deals. You have shopping engines like Google Shopping, Bing Shopping. You have these plugins and tools that have become more popular in recent years. Some of these are multi-billion-dollar companies like Rakuten. Honey was actually acquired about a year ago by PayPal for $4 billion, right? So you have these different sort of categories of companies, and they all play like a very specific role on the consumer journey. But a lot of our value propositions are around streamlining that entire journey from end to end, right? So you can see here, the journey is often in the industry broken into three phases: discovery, research, and purchase. And our goal is to streamline that entire journey from discovery to purchase. And a lot of the value propositions we talked about earlier is kind of what the differentiator becomes here for us, which is this unbiased content, right? Ability to quickly find the best deal on a product, the comprehensive data aspect of it, the ability to compare products, so on and so forth. High level projections for the next 5 years, right? So this is a very Google-esque vision for what we're doing. The US market is a starting point for us, but very much a global vision. You can see some of our projections here. Our team, so we have 5 full-time people right now. We have been actively the last just 2 months. We have started to expand our team with certain key leadership roles. For example, a director of technology person that we've actually kind of had the final interview with someone earlier today that will probably make an offer too. So in terms of where we are right now, right, we have a strong core team that's been working on this for a number of years, and we're sort of transitioning into our growth phase now and have started the process of identifying key individuals to bring onto the team. This is a $2 million seed round that we're raising right now. We've raised about $1.25 million in previous rounds. You can see some information here on what we're looking to do with this round. So launching new verticals, further product development. One of the key features, one of the number one requests from users to date is the ability to purchase on site, right? So people don't want to, like, if they're able to do all their research here, they don't want to click on that button, that link that takes them to Amazon or to Best Buy or to Walmart to make the actual purchase. They want to be able to make that purchase here. So it's one of the priority things that we have on our development roadmap right now. From a marketing standpoint, right now focusing on organic growth, building out a loyalty program, etc. Business development, building partnerships with retailers, team expansion. This is not covered much in our deck, but I'll kind of touch on it for a few seconds. Is the kind of an opportunity, we just kind of send out an annual letter to shareholders about a week and a half ago, and I'm happy to share it with anyone who's interested. But it kind of lays out a shift in strategy going forward with the primary focus on within the health and wellness space and specific categories that are gaining a lot of traction. CBD, for example, is a category we're focusing on. There's a number of things. The existing value props that we've talked about all apply, but there are a number of additional value props that are major, such as like CBD, for example. They're not able to sell through mainstream retailers, right? CBD brands are not able to sell on Amazon, Walmart, etc. They don't have a strong e-commerce front, right? They're all looking for additional channels to find customers. The commission rate, it ranges from 20 to 40%, which is just night and day different from some of what we've seen with like electronics, etc. Right? So from a revenue opportunity, from an experience standpoint, the network effect, the social aspect, which was always part of the iuzeit vision, is much more relevant when you start thinking about some of these categories like CBD and other things within health and wellness. So from a revenue strategy standpoint, from a growth strategy standpoint, there's a number of things that's driving us to focus on health and wellness. A lot of it is also kind of driven by my sort of personal passion as well, right? So for me, a lot of the ambition and kind of the drive behind the iuzeit platform and sort of building this discovery and research platform that allows people to access information at the right time in a manner they can't right now is also kind of tied to my own experience with my father, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 15 years ago now. And long story short, it got me a lot more exposed to our sort of traditional system of medicine in India, Ayurvedic medicine. And he's gone to India like 4 or 5 times now for treatment. And his tremors are gone. I've almost seen it reverse, which is nearly impossible kind of in the Western medicine world. So through that experience, just became a lot more educated and exposed to so many treatment options that are available for so many things, where oftentimes there are limitations with Western medicine, right? So that very much for me personally plays a role in kind of building this platform that does allow people to discover and research, very critical stuff such as like healthcare products and treatments and whatnot in a manner that they can't today. So with that, I don't know if I've gone over time or not. Apologies, Ram and Sanju, but wanted to leave some time for questions.
Sure. Thank you, Yogi. Again, another great presentation. Very interesting indeed. Definitely, the problem description is very much relatable from a consumer standpoint. It's getting more and more difficult as a consumer to figure out how to do informed decisions. So let me just focus on one aspect of the whole model, and that of your revenue model. I still need to understand a little better what the revenue model is, but one of the things that I think you highlighted is commissions. So commissions being, I am assuming, one of the primary revenue drivers, and you mentioned some of the categories have a tendency to be a higher commission generating categories. With that said, if that's the case, and how do you balance, how do you stay objective, and how do you balance that with your original premise to be objective and not be corrupted and be influenced by the ones that give you the higher commissions? And similar to Google, it started out as being good until it became evil.
Yes.
So you understand what I'm saying? How are you going to stay objective?
Yeah. So for us, there's a very definitive line between bias in pushing people towards purchasing specific products or pushing people towards purchasing a specific a product from a specific retailer to just giving people the information they need, right? So when we, let's take CBD as an example. You kind of referenced a particular category that has a much higher commission rate, right? So within CBD, for example, our job is to provide consumers with the right information. Here are the top products. Here's all the information about the products. If there's a product that's being sold through multiple retailers, here are multiple options. but we're not, there's nothing in our existing experience or nothing in our vision that would drive people to specific, purchasing because we make more off of it, if that makes sense, right? So the experience you see today on the site, where kind of that example of, let me just go to a product real quick. It doesn't really even matter which product it is. You have these
take a headphone or
Samsung Galaxy, what is this, Buds Pro, for example, right? So our goal is to show you that, here's the information. Here are some purchasing options. So let's say, and maybe this is a bad example because they're all
the same.
right? But like, let's say
If they were different,
default, we just sort by lowest price, right? So let's say in this example, Walmart is paying a higher commission to us. We're not putting Walmart at the top because Walmart, right? So the experience is completely unbiased right now, and we don't see that changing no matter, how much the profit margin goes up as a result of higher commission rates, or no matter which category we take on.
So you expect to stay with that principle as a long-term strategy, because that is very core to your whole.
That is correct. That is very much, and that's a big differentiator, right? Like that's one of the biggest differentiators between us and kind of the experience that people have out there. So yes, we plan to stay true to our to our day one core value of remaining objective and unbiased.
Okay. I have a few other questions, but I'm going to reserve those questions for later, Yogi. I'm going to have
Sure.
others chime in. So.
Okay, so could that change if you gave controlling interest in your company to an investor?
Do you mean if
could that premise change based on
company?
ROI on investment? How pure can you enforce the idea that Ram was asking, right? Is good till it becomes evil.
I would imagine indefinitely. The only scenario I can think of is, let's say, and we haven't really considered corporate ventures, but like in the and maybe that's the reason we don't. But let's say Samsung Ventures, for example, right? Like wants to invest in an A round or B round or something, and they say we'll invest, but you have to put our products at the top as sponsored products, right? Then we would want to look elsewhere for investment. So. I don't see how, like, if it's not a brand or like a corporate investment or something, I don't necessarily see that being a challenge. I would imagine that control stays in our hands indefinitely.
So what actually drives consumers? Is it reviews, or is it brand or reputation?
What drives their decision making? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
It's a number of things. In terms of importance of data, price is still almost always number one or number two. Reviews is, kind of right behind price. Brand loyalty and brand credibility does vary from category to category. Right, so with certain electronics, brand loyalty is a bigger thing, right? Like you have your Apple advocates, you have your Samsung advocates, etc. Right, they're going to be in line buying the newest iPhone when it comes out, etc. It really, we've done a lot of research in the last few weeks in the health and wellness space, and brand credibility is very important, and it's a very different space because you don't have just, there's not just the Apple and the Samsung brands in every category. So it's a new experience. Like if someone's purchasing a CBD product for the first time, they have no idea whether to consider American Shaman or Medterra CBD or even for like multivitamins or sports nutrition and et cetera, right? Like, so it's one of the things that we've learned is that people need and want more information on why should I trust this brand? When you get into these other categories, where there's not like an Apple that's dominating the market.
Yeah, I'll make a last comment and then I'll turn it over to someone else. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Emerging products, alternative medicine, Ayurveda, anything that takes people off, hypnotic drugs and maintenance drugs, blood pressure, cholesterol, allergies. I think that's a huge win.
Improving improving your immunity system is no longer optional, right? Like post pandemic, so many more people are just obviously everyone values their health and stuff, but yeah, I give the herbal / Ayurveda supplements example or kind of referencing, like to me, it's sort of where yoga was 20 years, right? Like we're kind of in the early stages, and I think there's a big opportunity to kind of participate in and facilitate in, sort of making it, from a market penetration standpoint. There's schools now in California, Phoenix, where people can get Ayurvedic certificates. You can be a practitioner. Obviously, you can't get an MD like you can get in India. But like I said, to me, it's kind of like where yoga was 20 years ago, where I think there's a big opportunity for it to become a household name over the next 5 to 10 years. And I think kind of what we're doing and our thought process, et cetera, can sort of facilitate that. People pay $60 for a turmeric tablets at Vitamin Shop. And in my mind, I'm like, we can go to the Indian grocery store and get a pound of turmeric powder for $10, et cetera. But it's becoming more popular. And so I think there's a need to educate consumers in a lot of these emerging categories. So I think there's a really big opportunity there.
Yeah, it seems like they have gummies for everything, including beetroot,
Yeah.
turmeric. Yeah. Well, thank you. That was good.
Sure. Thank you.
Satyajit, you had a couple of questions. You were just want to go ahead and ask those. It's on the chat.
Sure. Hey, Yogi, I have put a couple of questions on the chat if you want to.
Sorry,
read those
I couldn't see the chat while I was sharing the screen. What is this sweet?
I think my first question was, is there a sweet spot of prices, right? I think for a $1 thing, it's not worth reading the, what's the sweet spot, right?
Yeah. So obviously, like for electronics, right, the higher ticket items, people do more research, obviously, right? Like if you're considering a $2,000 laptop or a car, right, you're going to do a lot more research on a $20,000, $50,000 purchase than a $5 purchase. I would say we're probably learning that, but I do think now that with the amount of research we've done in the health and wellness space, right, like at a certain point, it doesn't become just about the price, right? So you might take something like, we have these COVID essential products, for example, and there's hand sanitizer, for example, is one of the categories there. And that was actually originally considered more from a out of stock standpoint, right? Because at a certain point, a lot of these products were just not available. And it was difficult for people to figure out where can I go to get it, whether it's $1 or $10. But something like that, people may not care too much about price shopping. But when you get into like some of these health and wellness categories, even if it's low priced items, people still want to know like they're still getting the best deal, and the product comparison aspect becomes much more important from a quality standpoint than just price, right? Like if I'm considering if I'm a health enthusiast or a fitness enthusiast and I'm considering these two protein powder options, even if they're like $15 each or only kind of on the lower end, from a quality standpoint, what's the difference and which product is best for me, right? So that still drives a lot of effort behind the comparison. But yeah, for pricing, I don't know if I have an exact dollar amount.
No.
But I would say probably somewhere, this is a broad range between $25 and $100, right? Like at a certain point, it becomes a bigger deal than, if it's just like a $10 product.
Just to follow up, Yogi, I think you are very close on it. To me, authenticity is a lot more important because there's so much fake stuff, there's so much unnecessary hype created. And if you are able to basically say, hey, this is give a grade on authenticity of product, I think that would be very meaningful to people for things they are going to put inside their own body.
Absolutely. And just kind of touching on this second question that you put here, yes, we are, products are like, the platform is meant to be content agnostic, not just category agnostic, but it's more like when we say health and wellness, right? Like there might be a services aspect that becomes a big opportunity for us. So the end goal is to get beyond products, right? Even when we think about healthcare specifically, right? Like the process for determining which professional to go see. You have doctor review sites like ZocDoc and Health Grades and all these other sites, and those same pain points are still there without a solution on the horizon. So kind of this social aspect, that's a big part of our 2021 strategy, I think becomes very relevant when thinking about services, right? Because like if I trust Ram, or if I consider him to be in my immediate circle, him telling me that, hey, you should go see this person or go try this service, etc., is going to be worth more to me, depending on my relationship
Absolutely.
with him, than 5,000 people where the credibility is already in question out there. So I think that social portion strategically will play a big role in our ability to expand into beyond products into services.
When you get into that, it get into a very crowded space, right? With neighborhood groups next door
Exactly.
and this and that and all that stuff, right? It'll get
So
a little confusing there in terms of
Maybe. I mean,
also,
neighborhood
yeah,
is. I don't know if I would trust my neighbor on, I've seen chatter on neighborhood, right? And like it's a lot of like home related stuff, and I don't know about like personal services or like healthcare services, et cetera, right? Like that's where a relationship is required beyond living in the same neighborhood.
sure. And Yogi, thank you. I think one of the things I didn't see is for me personally, anything bigger ticket item, consumer reports is a big competitor of yours. How do you see consumer reports?
So consumer reports for us at the end of the day is just another review site, right? So consumer reports does what CNET does, what the editor at CNET does, and what the editor at Engadget does. Their difference is they're a subscription model, right? So their information, if they were a free platform, for example, then their information would be on our site in the expert section next to CNET, because it's someone at a company. They tried the product out. Now they have they have maybe more scores and stuff, but a lot of these review sites also have like, an isolation, like for headphones, there's review sites where it gives you 10 different scores on noise cancellation and, just all aspects of the product. So consumer reports for us is not necessarily a direct competitor, because at the end of the day, they're reviewing products and publishing their reviews to a closed, subscriber base.
Yeah. And there was a religious following for consumer reports way back when it was in the brick and mortar world. I used to be a subscriber to it myself, but
I was as well.
Right,
they still have a pretty decent subscriber base, from a revenue.
I'm one of those. Okay, I buy into that really.
I used to be many years ago, or I think like if we're looking for a washer or dryer or something, I'd go and subscribe for like 2 months, use the service, and then cancel.
Well, okay. So the use of the money, I think, I don't know if you touched on that and we missed it. Do you have something on that? Can you elaborate?
I did, yeah, and I can pull this up again. But yeah, so it's it's kind of
there it is. Okay.
Across development, marketing, biz dev, and a lot of it is driven by expanding the current from a resource standpoint, right? Okay. Adding key people to the team to facilitate, and that's why we have that in each of these buckets, right? Team expansion, right? Because this is in most of these areas, it's getting the right people, expanding our team with the right people now to execute on the right strategy. And then sure, some of the spend goes towards like, ad spend or influencer spend, right? So you sort of have that external expense in each of these areas, but the bulk of it is now growing our team with key resources to kind of execute on a lot of the strategy laid out.
Is your tech and development here in the US or offshore, or is it in-house or outsourced?
It's both right now. In and on. One of our initiatives in 2021 is to bring all development in-house. Okay. We've had a lot of experiences working with onshore, offshore. Some of the challenges are there regardless of whether they're onshore or offshore. This is a big effort for us, right? And it's all driven by technology. So for a number of reasons, we want to bring everything in-house. There is, part of the strategy might be setting up our own shop offshore, like in India, but very, not using a third-party development company, but like having, an iuzeit office in India. With resources there that are our own resources run by our own management. So that is part of kind of the thought process.
Okay. I'm sure there's a lot of interest in some of the people that are here on the line, and then some others that have not that are not on the call here. I have an interest in retail and e-commerce myself, and so does Vinod and a few others. So we'll definitely want to follow up.
Yogi, I think just to clarify, did I hear you say out of the 2 million you are raising, you have raised 1.5? Your commitment for 1.5, is that, did I hear you properly?
No, I was saying in previous rounds, we've raised about 1.25 so far. In the current round, we're at about 300,000 right now, 300 and change. And then this one of the investors mentioned on our on the deck, Edge 196. They're actually based out of Houston, and they've been around for a number of years. They actually have their own. For the last 2 years, they've been working on building an equity fund built on blockchain technology. So they're launching that in a couple of weeks, and so once that launches, there'll be another substantial cash infusion from them, probably 800K. So yeah, that's kind of where we are with the current round.
And what's the valuation? Have you shared that?
I have not, but I do have a term sheet that I can share. This
you could
2 million on a 10 pre-money.
If you could send that, if you don't mind, if that's okay, I'll share it with the charter members here that are interested.
Absolutely.
Is it a safe round?
It's a price round.
Price round. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the first round, our friends and family round was convertible notes, and then after the second round, those were converted. We do have one 500K convertible note that will convert in this round when we close this round. The trigger is a $1 million equity or more raise. But aside from that, the last round was a price round, and this one is a price round as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll send you the term sheet round.
Okay, that'll be great. That'll be great.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we can stay on and we can keep going. I want to be respectful of everybody's times. It's at 7:37 here. But if you have any other question, anybody on the line, last couple of questions, and then we'll call it a day or an evening.
Thank you, Yogi. Very interesting area. And I'm done, Ram. I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Alok. Yogi. Thank you. Very interesting concept. I think I would like to get in touch with you offline. So maybe if you can share your contact information with the TiE group, I'll drop a note on it.
Absolutely. Sure thing.
Go ahead and share your email information and whatnot in the chat. I'll go ahead and also follow up towards the end. So when we have a little recap of it.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, and I just posted my email in the chat.
And we have a process, Yogi, so that, obviously you can have a lot of interactions, but as far as the active serious engagement and terms and discussions are concerned, we will take your information and we'll circulate it among the charter members, and then we'll have a follow-up. We'll go into more in-depth and so on and so forth. So we'll follow the process. Sanjita will be in, and I will be in touch with you on that note.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you very much again, Yogi. And glad we made it happen after a couple of little hiccups there in terms of schedule and all that. But great that we were able to get this accomplished finally.